You know, I remember it like it was yesterday, back at the start of 2018, when we all learned that the Transformers cinematic universe as we knew it was going to be rebooted following the release of the then upcoming Bumblebee movie. While we didn't fully know the answer as to why at the time, it would later come out that the whole idea of turning the Bayverse into a cinematic universe ultimately failed when Transformers The Last Knight, a film that was made solely to kick off this interconnected universe, made Paramount lose over $100 million. Despite this monumental loss, Paramount pushed forward with the Bumblebee movie, since it was too far into production to be cancelled. While it was intended to be the first film in the Bayverse cinematic universe, it ultimately would be reworked into a reboot to distance itself from what came before. And as we know, when the film finally came out, it was a big hit among fans and general audiences, with a lot of people saying that this was the Transformers movie that they always wanted to see. And the box office reflected this consensus, since Bob Bakish, the CEO of Paramount at the time, would go on to state that the film was solidly profitable. However, despite this, it would take almost 4.5 years until we would get another live-action Transformers film. That film, of course, was Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. And while it was an okay movie, it didn't really feel like a sequel to Bumblebee, and more so a return to the old formula with a new coat of paint. And a major reason why the film ended up like this is because the script for the Bumblebee sequel film was merged together with a script for a Beast Wars solo film, thus giving us what we ultimately got. However, what if I told you that there was a true sequel to the Bumblebee movie that does exist? While it wasn't made for the big screen, it was instead made in the form of a comic titled Sector 7 Adventures: The Battle at Half Dome. You see, this comic was packaged alongside the Blu-ray DVD release of Bumblebee, and was also featured as a motion comic in the film's special features. It's a fascinating piece of Transformers lore, not just because of its connection to the Bumblebee movie, but also because it serves as an early vision of how a Bumblebee sequel could have looked like before Rise of the Beast came along. So let's dive into what this comic was all about, and how in my eyes it paved a way for a better sequel that we never got.
If he ever wakes up, we'll need all the help we can get.
Alright, so this sequel comic was made by Avalanche Comics Entertainment, who were the ones responsible for the Transformers: The Last Knight prequel comic, Mission to Cybertron. Now, the battle at Half Dome begins in 1989, 2 years after the events of the Bumblebee movie. Sector 7, the secretive government organization tasked with monitoring and managing alien robot activity, is on a critical mission. A convoy is making its way through the Half Dome National Monument, transporting a classified payload. The tension is palpable, though the exact nature of their mission remains a mystery to most of them, including a young and inexperienced Agent Seymour Simmons. The journey is interrupted by an explosion, shattering the convoy's semblance of calm. The source of the attack quickly becomes clear, as the Decepticon communications officer Soundwave towers over the battlefield, demanding the return of what he calls rightfully the Decepticons. His laser blaster rains down destruction, leaving Sector 7's troops scrambling for cover. The soldiers attempt to fight back, but their weapons are no match against Soundwave. Amid the chaos, Agent Seymour Simmons turns to his superior, Agent Bell, for guidance. However, Agent Bell was critically injured in the initial blast, and refuses to disclose their mission details, declaring them need to know, before losing consciousness. Left in charge, a panicked Seymour Simmons radios HQ for help, but instead of providing immediate support, HQ drops a bombshell. The convoy isn't transporting troops, it's carrying a secret payload of immense importance. HQ's orders are clear: protect the payload at all costs and deliver it to the Igloo, Sector 7's secure base. Adding to the gravity of the situation, Simmons is warned that the payload must not be activated under any circumstances. With no reinforcements available and the convoy taking heavy fire, the weight of responsibility falls squarely on Simmons' shoulders. But just as the situation seems hopeless, help arrives when Bumblebee leaps into the fray, engaging Soundwave in a brutal one-on-one battle. Their clash is intense and personal, with Soundwave taunting Bumblebee about Optimus Prime's supposed cowardice and boasting of the Decepticons' plans to dominate Earth. Soundwave's advantage grows as he deploys his deadly minions Laserbeak, Ravage, and Rumble. Outnumbered and overwhelmed, Bumblebee struggles to hold his ground. Soundwave even attempts to sway Bumblebee, claiming that they could join forces to find Megatron and the Allspark together. Bumblebee of course refuses, and just when it seems like Bumblebee might be defeated, backup arrives in the form of Brawn. The burly Autobot delivers a powerful punch, sending Rumble flying into a distant mountain. With the odds now evened, Bumblebee and Brawn fight back against Soundwave and his 2 remaining minions. Soundwave, noticing Bumblebee's silence, realizes that he lost his voice. Disgusted by this perceived weakness, Soundwave withdraws his earlier offer to join forces. Meanwhile, Simmons faces a dire choice. His driver, Agent Netta March, advises him to activate the payload to turn the tide of the battle. Simmons resists, citing their orders and the unknown nature of the device, but March reminds him of the severity of their situation. Under mounting pressure, Simmons races to the truck carrying the payload and narrowly avoids being blasted by Soundwave thanks to a timely intervention from Bumblebee. Simmons activates the device, and its effects are immediate and catastrophic for the warring Transformers. The payload disrupts their internal systems, causing both Autobots and Decepticons to lose control of their transformations. Soundwave and his minions are thrown into disarray, giving the Sector 7 convoy a critical window to escape. As they regroup on the road, Simmons reflects on the weight of his decision. March commends his bravery, but Simmons feels conflicted about disobeying orders. At this moment, Simmons declares that he will be strictly by the book from now on, dedicating himself to eliminating the Transformer threat. March, on the other hand, offers a more optimistic perspective, suggesting that not all Transformers may be enemies. However, Simmons laughs this statement off, unaware that a green and yellow Jeep complete with an Autobot insignia had quietly joined their convoy. This moment marks the conclusion of the physical comic. However, it's not the end of the story, since this panel directs readers to watch the motion comic to find out how the story truly ends. In the motion comic, the convoy finally reaches the Igloo, Sector 7's heavily fortified base hidden beneath the Hoover Dam. Here, Simmons meets director Tom Banachek, who commends him for successfully delivering the payload under such dire circumstances. Banachek explains that the payload was reverse engineered from the alien technology recovered during previous Transformer encounters, including the events of the Bumblebee incident. While Simmons takes responsibility for activating the device, Banachek assures him that his actions were justified given the circumstances. As Simmons is led deeper into the facility, Banachek reveals the true scale of Sector 7's operations. The Igloo is more than just a base, it's a fortress designed to hide the organization from Transformer sensors. But there's more. Banachek unveils the organization's most closely guarded secret, the Iceman, a massive transformer frozen in ice. Banachek warns Simmons of the catastrophic threat the Iceman would pose if ever freed, cementing Simmons' resolve to dedicating his life to combating the Transformer threat. And so yeah, that was Sector 7 Adventures, The Battle at Half Dome. A pretty fun comic that gives us a glimpse at a direction Paramount and Hasbro could have taken the Transformers franchise after Bumblebee. Unfortunately, this short story was retconned by the path Rise of the Beast chose to follow. And while the Battle at Half Dome may just be a forgotten footnote in Transformers history, it's one that's worth revisiting, because sometimes even the stories that are no longer canon reminds us of the untapped potential this franchise has.